Good morning. Hope you're all doing well today. Today, I wanted to share a little bit about healing shame in my life, in my body, in my soul, in my mind. I definitely grew up with a lot of shame in my life. Especially growing up as a queer man in a very small town in a Latino household, and I definitely carried that shame with me throughout my life for a very, very long time, and it led to like a lot of destruction in my life, mostly myself. A lot of like destructive behaviors, and I always felt like a victim of my circumstances, and so for a long time, I couldn't, I guess growing up, I never felt accepted. I didn't feel accepted from the people around me. The people that I loved the most didn't really accept who I was, and wanted to change me, or thought maybe this was like a phase of my life that I was just going through and it would pass. So, it was hard for me to accept myself when, at such a young age, I realized that wasn't really acceptable from the people around me. And it was tough. I carried that shame and that guilt around with me, and I couldn't accept myself for who I was, and so I tried to like change who I was or lie about who I was, and I kind of like went about my life in that way. I was always like lying about who I was. I was never honest with people, especially about my queerness, and I tried to hide that part of my life, and it just slowly it just ate me up inside, and it led to like really destructive behavior in my life. And I would like blame everybody else for like this this thing in my life that I couldn't accept, and for a long time I blamed everybody else, like why I was the victim, like why was I made this way? Why was like, why did this happen to me? I was like in this victim mentality, like I'm a victim of these circumstances, like I didn't choose this, like it just happened to me, and it's not fair, life isn't fair, and this isn't fair. Why is this my story? And so I couldn't accept it for a long time, and I blamed other people, and I couldn't like just accept that this like was who I am, and I tried to fight it, and I tried to resist it, and it made it just so much worse. I was like trying to fight like the person that I am, trying to fight the person that I was like meant to be, and so I just had like this internal battle going on in myself, and it was just eating me up inside, and it was like consuming me, and at a certain point, like I just wanted to die. Like I couldn't take it anymore. Like I couldn't understand why this was happening to me, and like why, like just like self-pity, and it just I just I couldn't understand, and and yeah, and that's how I lived my life. I was like consumed by like the shame and the guilt of it all, and I didn't love myself. I couldn't accept myself for who I was, and I kept trying to fight it, and I didn't know like what to do, who to turn to, and this has been like a lifelong journey for me, and it is like still something like till this day that I am like actively working on in my life, like the shame and the guilt, because it was so deeply embedded in me that I am constantly having to like change my mindset, change my way of thinking, my beliefs, like everything about it was just so deeply ingrained in me from such a young age that this has been like a lifelong journey to like break through and overcome. And then when I think I'm like, yeah, I've made it, like something comes up and I'm like, okay, like there's still something that I need to work on. Like, I'm not like fully healed in this part of my life, and so there's things that like will come up and remind me and like bring up those feelings of like shame or guilt, and I'm like, okay, like this is something that I still need to work on, something that I actively need to work on and be consciously aware of. Because yeah, I have definitely come a long way from like how I used to be of like hating myself and like hating who I was, and it didn't happen overnight. I had to like get comfortable with who I was. I had to stop blaming other people. I had to realize that this wasn't happening to me, it was happening for me. That whatever reason, like I was like given this task, and maybe it's to like help somebody else that was like feeling how I was, or maybe it's to like do something with it and be an advocate for people, and be that, maybe it's just even like being that person that somebody could look at so they don't feel alone. Because for so long I just felt so alone. I never seen people like me. I didn't know people like me, and they if to me like they didn't exist. I didn't know anybody. So like if I could just be that person that somebody could look at and be like, oh, like there's somebody else like me, and there's somebody else that like experienced these struggles, and like maybe that's like my whole purpose. And like I have come to terms with like there's a reason why I have like I am the way that I am, and like I'm totally accepting of who I am today, and I love myself today, and I wouldn't change anything about it, and I wouldn't change anything about my journey, because the journey has got me exactly where I am today, and I know where I'm supposed to be in my life at any given moment. And but yeah, it took a lot of work, and I had to do a lot of soul searching to get where I'm at today. I had to like fully accept myself for the person that I am, and realize that I am a beautiful soul, and I'm a human being just like everybody else, and I'm not that different from everybody else around me, and we all go through different struggles in life, and maybe mine's are not the same as everybody else's, but they're not as different from everybody else's either. And I had to remember that, and just like fully accepting myself for who I am, and being comfortable in my own skin, and yeah, it's definitely been a lifelong journey, and I'm still like working on things in my life actively, and I have to keep reminding myself that that I'm here for a reason, and I accept myself today for exactly who I am. And but yeah, like the deep shame, it goes really deep, and so I have to like be kind with myself too, my healing process, and know that it's not gonna happen overnight, and wasn't like put there overnight, and it was like took many years to like embed it into like me, my mind, and my body, and like so it's not gonna like I'm never gonna be able to just like fully get rid of that, and I'll always have to like work on something, and be reminded of things, and come back to things, and it'll be this continuous healing process. But I just have to like stay present and give myself the grace that I need to continue to heal. And if you're on your own healing journey, just know that you are not alone. I love you.